Peace everyone. I am Ronald Bassi, your Welcome Nerd School facilitator, and this is another episode of Down to Earth. And as you can see, this episode is just me, baby. Just solo. I don't know if I call this a man cave or not, but what I did was we have a closet and I renovated the closet and I turned it into my space. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just needed a sanctuary to work and speak, write out more of the thoughts and ideas that have been coming to me, more of the reflections and just peace, you know. Like, I love nature, I love my family, I love my home, but it ain't nothing like a little peace, you know what I'm saying? It's not like having your own space. And, you know, everyone's not blessed enough to find a space to make their own. So, lucky for me, I had a sizable enough storage closet that I turned into just a space, you know what I'm saying, where I could just get some air and just breathe, man, and just, yeah, man, even though it's a little hot in this motherfucker. But what compelled me to do this episode today is a personal experience that not only have I wrestled with, but I have navigated through, whether it was with someone else's wisdom or wisdom I had to learn on my own, or just being able to take the experience of it. The transcendental experience of letting go is what this episode is about. So it's an age-old spiritual question, I would say, and it doesn't even have to be spiritual. I think a lot of people deal with this question in mundane and everyday life, you know, even if they don't speak on it, right? So the question that persists and insists in my life is life about gaining, or is life about letting go? Now, most people say the obvious answer is both, right? You would say the obvious answer is both. No one is perfect. A lot of things don't last forever. Things come and go. Life has ebbs and flows. Excuse me. But I feel like this question persists because I personally was groomed by a culture and society that prides itself on how much one can acquire to determine their value, to determine their worth. Now, I know I'm not alone in this, but I want to do a better job of not speaking for others and being as transparent as possible about my personal experience. And I know there are people who can relate to this. I know this is a collective thing, but again, I want to do a better job about speaking about my experiences, my trials and tribulations, my spiritual endurance, the things that have enriched me or compelled me to share these kind of things. So back to what I was saying, again, I was raised, I was groomed, I was guided by people who knew how to hustle, who knew how to go and get, right? Whether that be from necessity or whether that be based off the fact that in our society, in our culture, in our neighborhoods, we are bound to the thought, if you ain't got nothing, you are nobody. If you don't have anything that indicates that you know how to go and get something, most people won't take you seriously. I personally was groomed and guided by the environments that I saw. Was your value is determined by how much you got and how you got it, whether that was legally or illegally, right? So holding close to these ideologies or these ways of life as I got older, these things put a strain on what I felt was actually valuable and enriching and empowering versus what I'm expected to have, expected to do, expected to pursue, all of these things. And I don't think it's no difference between man and woman per se. But if I'm speaking as a man, if I'm speaking as a father, right? If a man don't work, he don't eat, right? There is no provision without improvision, right? There is no fruits without labor. Now, those things are not things that I struggle to accept. What I had struggled accepting was the pressure of, am I still valuable to not just those around me, but the collective in this world if I don't have a lot? Now, some people might not even struggle with that question. Some people may, do a lot better job of that internal push and pull. You know what I mean? A lot of people are able to separate themselves. A lot of people are, well, I don't know if I can say a lot of people, but I will say there are people who are seeming to be spiritually rich and able to attain and acquire things in abundance. And during this transition, I've also had to redefine and repurpose what abundance is to me, and I'll go into that further. But yeah, there are people who are able to strike this balance a lot more easier than I am. So as I ask myself consistently, is life about gains or is life about letting go? Because I know that I'm personally not alone in having to let go or lose things, or the fear of loss, the fear of not having control over what's being taken away from me. But I know that during my journey, when I allow it to be, it becomes spiritually enriching. There's profound, and I mean profound, things that happen on the other side of me not tying my value to things that I once thought did determine my value or who I was, who I'm meant to be, who I'm becoming, XYZ. A lot of, I won't say a lot of people, but my my quote unquote journey as an artist, right? When I was doing hip hop super heavy and I was putting music out into the world, right? And I remember moments, right, where things were happening, right, where it felt like success, right? It felt like breakthroughs, it felt like stability, it felt like solid foundation. And during those times, right, where like people are, I'm able to pay bills off music, I'm being sat in front of, you know, a number of people to perform, and people seemingly giving me flowers, or now I'm paying attention, right, to this art form. During that whole time, right, I was struggling with like, I have to get more. I have to, there's more to gain from this. I need to acquire more. I need to acquire more. Because the whole time that these things were happening, I was standing in my mother's crib. I was riding the bus, taking Ubers. So no car, no house, from age 20 to 26, right? So all of these things that are seemingly happening, right, begin to push or pull on my emotional and spiritual, and hell, even physical, right, of how I perceived myself and how other people perceived me. And then once life was like, okay, it's time for you not only to transform, but to have real growth and to build real solid foundation, the first thing that was starting to slip was what I was gaining from music. And it wasn't music that was leaving me, like it wasn't the expression, it was the quote unquote fruits. So life was like, okay, now you're being forced to determine the actual value of the art versus why you're doing it and who are you doing it for. It came to a point where it was like, am I embracing the fact that this gift in itself is just that, a gift and a service, and what I get from it does not determine the value of the gift and the service. It's about impact, right? Or is it about the indulgence and what I can acquire and how much I was able to pull in by using it? Music helped me get my first apartment. It was music that helped me get my first apartment. At least I thought so, right? It was music that helped bring that to fruition. So now I'm still struggling with, at this point, at 26, 27, I'm still struggling with, like, okay, like, once again, which one is it? Is life about gaining, or is life about letting go? Fast forward time, when all of the ways that I was able to create music began to shift and change due to a lot of personal things, right? What is the next step, right? And this is when I began to, or I had to start to reshape my mind around what abundance is and resourcefulness, and that I always have what I need. And redefining what my self-worth and self-value is, and not leaving it up to the tools that are really just extensions of how I already feel about myself. Once again, I come from a, and we, you know what I'm saying, we all do, but I'm gonna keep saying I come from cultures and places and backgrounds where, like, if you ain't got nothing, you know what I'm saying, like, who sees you as valuable? For we see it every day. We see it every day. So to break this pattern, to break this spell, I have begun practicing the art, like become a repetition, or acknowledging, right, that you, to not hoard things. If I have it and someone else can use it, I'm letting it go. If there's a feeling, an outdated emotion, an outdated thought pattern that no longer serves me, I'm letting it go. I have to let it go. Because then it becomes a barrier. Then it becomes a blockage. Then it becomes a burden. And then you become a prisoner of the thing that was once a resource, that was once just an extension of you, and then it becomes your box. Then growth becomes stunted. Then it becomes harder for you to transform, for you to blossom into the next phase, into the next version, into a better version of yourself. If material things were the ultimate definition of existence in someone's spiritual or connection or abundance, then we wouldn't have shit called the 1%, running and ruining everybody else, and making everyone else so hyper-focused on how much they can get. And I know it's not that easy. Like I said, of course I can say but I also know these are collective struggles. I know people that see people with things that they themselves are dying to have, whether through scrolling or witnessing in person. They're also witnessing how those people are being treated and seen and perceived in comparison to how they are seen and perceived. And they too want to give off that perception. So they are dying to have these things. Survival and comparison has done a number on the same culture and society that I come from, that we come from. Actually, we don't come from it. We come from something much more rich and understanding and connected to this plane. But what it has been perverted and transformed into is that. Favorite thing for people to say is a broke nigga can't tell them nothing. Favorite thing for people to say is, if you ain't got more than me, or only rich people can give me advice, and many of us have no idea how to actually not only determine, but how to measure and embody what our actual self-worth is and what we find ourselves worthy to have or to hold anyway. And those are my personal struggles. But now I know, even through the difficulties of navigating, I won't say life has made it easier for me to let things go, especially things that I feel like I've put 100% in and hard work in. But I have gained wisdom from it. I have gained more self-love. I've gained more skills from it. I've become more resourceful. I've become more of service, allowing life to show me the art of letting go. Yeah. So this episode, again, is just about the question and how it pertains and applies to your personal life. Is life about gains and acquiring all that you can acquire? Or is it about letting go? And letting go does not always have to be negative. If you allow yourself to be a conduit, a vessel, and of service, you will be provided with all that you need and want. So you can continue being a conduit, a service, and a provider. And though that's not an easy concept for most to grasp, because of things like capitalism, because of things like survival, because of things like disparity. So it's no one's fault. But it is our responsibility to do our best to return to this grounding. It's not automatically negative for someone to be quote unquote rich. But it can become negative when it's lopsided and you have billions of people who are struggling to just be themselves, to just be. Because the only thing richness in material worlds is pushing people to aspire to be is more selfish, hoard more things, and look down at those who don't have as much as them. So it's a powerful question to ask yourself. It's a powerful question that I keep asking myself. And I'll keep asking myself. Because I personally have been incarnated and pushed to continuously ask myself this question. Once again, is life about gains and acquiring? Or is life about letting go? Because you can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. You can take your energy with you. You can take your soul with you. You can take your spirit with you. But you can't take it with you. I'm Ron Obasi. Peace to the gods. And this is this episode of Down to Earth.